So far, I'm going to give my review of the Dying Light 2 game so far. Even though it's a buggy mess, the story doesn't compare to the first one because this first one had a bit more story and such. So apparently the second one, I don't give it a high rating because due to the bugs and whatever, and the story being less interesting than the first one, and such. Um, because the first one had the option to ride buggies and such, which you can't do in the sequel, and such. So the first one will always be better than the sequel. So apparently, due to the sequel having bugs in it, especially chatting to quest givers and stuff like that, and quest people having issues with quests, saying there's enemies nearby, which there isn't. So that's one. And then there's like certain enemies glitching or whatever, and you can't really attack them, and it's just weird sometimes because you're like, okay, where actually is the like the boss or something like that, and like disappeared. Really, it's like that because it's like sometimes the repair guy is missing. He doesn't show up on the thing and such. And then there's other things as well, like I said before, like certain enemies glitch through walls and you can't really fight them. So there's like stuff like that and other bugs in the game that would have this issue and such with progressing or something like that. Especially as errors as well. Errors like if you're playing on the PS4, you usually get a lot of errors on the game, which is annoying. You get a lot of disconnects if you're on like multiplayer. So that's another issue. And then other people have issues because it like tells them they can't join the game and such. There's that issue. And then having to constantly try again to get back into the same game server, which pisses a lot of people off, and then they have to like go off the game a couple of times and it's just exactly the same thing, and then they have to restart the console, which is clearly a pain in the ass. So there's that problem. The other bug I'm going to mention is, characters not actually, like other players of characters, character, like not moving at all. That's one bug issue that I've physically heard about. Like there was one bug which Chris told me. He said it was one to do with standing still. I was actually in the wheelbarrow apparently, and I had moved, and apparently he said I was still in the wheelbarrow. So apparently that was a bug, which could have been fixed. So there's a lot of bugs, like I mentioned, that could have been fixed, I think. And it's broken as hell, which could be fixed, I think. Like just yesterday, the running mechanic was a bit weird. Like when I was running normal, it was lagging a bit, like that, which was annoying. Especially when I thought I'd have some good luck, and well, yesterday actually was Patrick's Day, and I thought, wearing green stuff and whatever, would bring me good luck, and it did not, apparently. It just So, isn't to say, is because I do actually believe in the good and bad luck thing because apparently I'm cursed with it. Have been cursed with it since I was born, apparently. So I've been cursed with bad luck ever since. So most of the bad luck is usually surrounded around the family. My granddad's cursed with it a lot. Apparently same with me, I'm cursed. So apparently usually anyone around me is cursed. They usually get that bad luck. Some days I'm lucky, but not always. It's like whenever I'm out, I sometimes get lucky, but not always. I usually end up with bad luck. No, it's apparently the same with the game. I usually get a ton of bad luck, usually with the servers and such, which is clearly annoying. So there's that. So apparently, the game up to now, I would have to actually rate it. So clarify to the amount of bugs. I mean, it's not really a bad game. It's not really a good game. Meaning it's not terrible. It's not the best. But I give it a 5 out of 5 rating. For Dying Light 2, it basically does get a 5 out of 5, and the reason I give it that rating is because it's not that bad of a game. It's not that good of a game. You have got certain things there and there where it doesn't work, and then you've got some parts of the game where it's actually good. Like, for example, you've got the every time you load into the game, for example, you have this scene clip thing which you have to sit through for a while until you can actually skip it. It's annoying. Especially with the story as well, it takes too long. With the clip thing, sometimes when you get the clips and you like to wait a while until you actually can skip. So that's another one. And also the tutorial, that's too long. Too many quests linked in that one. And it's annoying. So that's another one. The reason I wouldn't give it a high rating, the game. And that's the reason why. It could have been better, I think. Apparently the game just looks like it's half finished. So that's why I give it that rating. Doesn't get an excellent rating out of it because of all the things that could have been added and things that could have made the game great. Like maybe something different than what they did with the first one, where they add more vehicles into it, like they did with Dead Island. That had vehicles in it and such. You were able to drive through streets and such. Now, imagine actually using more kind of tactics, like kind of like to do with other stuff to get around the city faster. Well, apparently you don't really have any transport. So driving around in a car or a bike or something like that would be brilliant, or a buggy, for example. That would be good for driving around until you can't anymore, and you have to find another method of getting around. The other method of getting around would be like a paraglider. Actually have that option to paraglide wherever you are. Apparently you can actually paraglide, gliding across a high place or whatever, to get down below. And then you have jetpacks, which you can actually fly upwards, which could help. So apparently with the altitude, you could actually go up, if you're trying to get to a high place, and you can, that paraglide could actually help get upwards. The jetpack could actually help you get up. So if you're actually having problems or whatever, so you could actually just fly around the city with a jetpack with no problem. So you could pretty much sort of get anywhere with that. So that's another method that you could use. Another method, I reckon, would be a tank. Now, tanks are usually good for a swarm of enemies. Like, if you want to get through a swarm of enemies faster, and there's just a ton of them, and you're, like, say, traveling at night, a tank would be great for that, because you'd be able to drive through them, run them over. Another person's like using the turret gun to shoot all of them as you're like going across. Now, I think most likely that vehicle would only be used for 2 people instead of 3 and such. So that would be an option, a tank, if you were like going across or something like that. Another option, I reckon, would be a helicopter. If you say you found a helicopter in the apocalypse and you use that to travel from one area to the other, like an area that you couldn't get to, like say it was way, way, way across in another area that you wanted to get to, but you could not, because it was like cut off from the rest, like the other map. So a helicopter would easily drive you over the toxic wasteland that you can't travel across at all because it would kill you within seconds. Now, that would be a great way to get across, since you wouldn't touch the acid. Now, basically the other type of thing I don't like about the game is, well, the infected bar, where you have to, have to stay out, apparently, for a certain amount of time, and then you have to return to your safe zone because, well, I don't know, it's different in the first one. It's like, you have more of a chance at dying than you did with the first one, because the first one you didn't really get infected like you do with the sequel. It was more of, you can do what you wanted, such. But with the sequel, you have to rely on darkness. If you basically spend too much time in the darkness, you die. It's like you become infected and die due to a zombie thing. Now, I think the way the game should have went, is you basically to do with even though you jab yourself with whatever, until you get the Biomega bracelet, and then as soon as you get the Biomega bracelet, then you wouldn't get infected all day long. Now, that would have been really interesting in the dark, meaning you wouldn't have actually had to rely on fear in the dark anymore. Meaning you wouldn't have a death-infected bar because you'd have the bracelet on, and apparently the bracelet would have, injected you anyway, meaning it would have kept you from turning, instead of the other way around, where you have to rely on your infected bar, which is annoying. So there's that. So apparently that's also one other thing I don't like. It's that infected thing. So there's that. Apparently some of the challenges are also annoying to do, which usually most of them I don't bother. As for the side quests, I do bother, because there's that. But if I'm too weak for it, I usually turn around and think, no, okay, I'll come back when I'm stronger. Because right now I'm rank 3. Apparently, my mate and such are actually rank 4, so we tried to do the windmill and we could not because it was 4 and we needed more stamina. We needed around like 300 of stamina and we just didn't have enough. So we thought, nah, screw it. Apparently what we needed, I think, was more of an upgrade to our boots or whatever. Now the gauge with stamina and such takes longer than it did with the first one, where you could like max out your stats or whatever in the first one, and it's all max or whatever, and you wouldn't run out of stamina. With the sequel, it's different. You don't really have unlimited stamina gauge anymore. So apparently that goes down now. That's another one. So you'd have to rely on that. Which is another thing. Now apparently, teaming up with the Alliance gives you different things, but I think the zipline could have like been used for both sides, I think. Because I know the ziplines would come in handy, like if you were trying to get around, and yeah. Apparently, I went with the Peacekeepers because it had a car alarm, which is usually useful for like when you're trying to get away from enemies, and you have them to explode enemies by making a ton of noise. Now, I think it could have been also used around boss fights as well, the car alarm. Because, like, say you're basically out in the street or the map or whatever, and you're like near a boss place or whatever, and it's outside, and you have a car near it, it would stand a chance of like luring that like big monsters to it, so that it will like take them down. But with them not being near it, it's a bit different because you have to rely on that. Now, most of the quests, if you like doing them alone, are actually hard because, you know, the enemies. Now, there is basically a couple things, is never really go inside a building, during, a certain time period, because if you do, they will attack. So apparently there is a type of enemy called the Volati or something like that. And they're big, apparently. So like, say you're going through the, I think it's through the day, I think. I think it's during the day. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, if you're going during the day, these volunteers basically are inside, and the bad thing about that is they are bloody strong. So when they're inside, they basically run at you the quick as hell. They're really strong to take down. They take a lot of bloody damage. They apparently are really annoying as hell. Now apparently, as for the dark zombies, the ones that usually become a bit more, you know, aggressive, I actually don't think they're better than the ones in the first one, because the ones in the first one were absolutely bloody massive. It was scarier. They were like darker and such, and they had like red eyes, which made them creepier and stand out from like the ones in the sequel. And they were scarier. The ones in the sequel don't really look as scary. I actually thought at first they would, due to their fiery nature, but they don't really look as scary as you think they look. Now, I really think they could have done a lot more, I think, to these, like an upgrade from, like, you know, to what they, were in the first one. Like, possibly something to do with them fully on fire, which they could have done with them, kind of like an upgrade from the first one, where In the first one, they were basically just like with red eyes and such, but in the sequel, they could have had like more of a fire on their body, something like that, and they like jump across rooftops and they're like fast as hell. Something like that, which that should have happened because that would have made them more terrifying. Because that would have made them scarier. And they would have like replaced the Volatiles in a way because they would actually be known as the Volatiles in a way, as the night ones. So they would have been like tough, fast, able to track you down no matter where you go. Even if like you chase, they would basically chase you. And apparently with them, they actually would. Even if a howler spots you or whatever, straight away they would come after you. Something like that, which I think that could have happened, and such. So there's that. So yeah, apparently there's that, and then there's like, well, apparently some stuff just feels a bit weird in the game there and then like I said before, and it's not as great as the first one, most likely. When it actually comes to comparison between Dying Light 2, Dying Light 1, and Dead Island, most likely, straight away, I definitely would say Dead Island, because, you have the option, like I said before, to drive around in vehicles, which was better, which is why I can't really say Dying Light 1, to do with the vehicle, because that was only in a DLC, so I don't count that, so I don't really count that one. If they had put out straight out vehicles in Dying Light 2 or whatever, made it story interesting and such, then possibly I would have. The other thing I would mention is, zombies having this thing with sunlight. That's a weird one. Because zombies usually don't mind sunlight, and UV sort of thing. It's weird. The only explanation I can think of for the zombies is due to them like mutating something that's mutated, maybe something to do with the sun, I don't know. Somehow became blind, I think. Something to do with the zombies staying too long in the darkness and they became blind, something like that, and they rely on noise, and I think that's the probably reason why they don't like sunlight. That's the only thing I think of. Like, they spent too long in the dark, their eyes don't like, basically they haven't adjusted to that sunlight anymore, like they've become blind to it, because it's their mental breakthrough now. They can't survive it anymore, like kind of like a sun allergy, if you will. It's kind of like that, where you burn, something like that, like mutated to actually not like sunlight, so it like hurts them in a way. That's the only thing I think of. It's something very related to vampires, but it also can be a mental illness in real life where you can actually be weak to sunlight. If you're allergic to it, you can burn, but I don't think you'd set on fire, apparently. That's one thing. Now, the zombies actually burning due to sunlight, I find that weird because, I don't know, it's weird. Only vampires do that, burn in the sunlight. Zombies, in the hand, are not vampires. They're human beings turned into the infected. And it is weird to me because they're not really vampires, they're more mutated zombies, that have adapted to darkness, so they can't set on fire. It's just weird. But the only thing I would think of is allergy, sun allergy, which usually does burn your skin, but you turn red, apparently. Like a crimson zombie from RE1. That's kind of like similar, meaning you would turn red, you'd be all like full of burns, but you wouldn't turn on fire. You know what I mean? You wouldn't turn on fire at all. Meaning you wouldn't be full of fire in your body, you'd just be sunburned. Something like that, but like worse, if it was like a sun allergy. So there's that. Yeah, so apparently, the online servers do suck. They're not that great, they're bad. They do intend to have problems now and again. Apparently the company of Dying Light 2 don't really care, to be honest. They don't care about fixing their game, which they should. A lot of people are actually saying it's bugged, it's not doing what it's supposed to, and what do? Absolutely nothing. They don't fix it, they don't tweet back to people saying, yeah, okay, we'll fix it. They don't say that. Apparently, they're like Rockstar. Now, Rockstar don't do reply back they don't reply either. So apparently the company of Dying Light 2 are assholes. They don't fix it. So they'd rather leave the game a broken mess. So there's that. So apparently that's a major issue right there and then. So I mean, it is a pain, huge pain. So hopefully, maybe, if enough people actually get a petition going, for like an update for Dying Light 2, or get like, a bunch constantly pestering the company for a couple of updates that would fix like the glitches and bugs and all sorts, then, especially the online server, then it could be better. Meaning it wouldn't have a bunch of lag, like if you're trying to like move around, it wouldn't basically act slow anymore, if you were trying to get somewhere. Like, it wouldn't do that anymore. So there's that. So hopefully, possibly, they will put an update eventually. And yeah.